Welcome to our CACFP production record training, brought to you by the Division of Child Care and Early Childhood Education's Health and Nutrition Unit. In this training, we will define what type of production records and how to use them daily in your operation. The objectives for this training is for you to understand the importance of completing food production records, identify the required items for the completion of food production records, and to learn to use food production records to document meal service. Food production records serve two regulatory purposes. For administration reviews, productions are used to audit daily food use and to ensure that nutrition standards have been met for all reimbursable meals. So, what is a production record? A production record is a great tool for food ordering and planning. It is a source of information about quantities planned to offer for use in the nutrition analysis. Production records provide details of all food prepared and offered for service. Lastly, it provides history for forecasting future production needs. All CACFP program records must be kept 5 years plus the current. A failure to retain or adequately complete production records can result in withholding of federal funds. In order to complete your breakfast, snack, and or lunch production records, there are several items that must be entered by manager and or designated nutrition employee. They will include the day, date, facility's name, menu including portion sizes, components served, amount of each component served, and actual number of meals by age group. Special documentation to production records will include the following: the use of soy milk or other doctor-approved milk substitutes, documentation of food substitutes, what portion sizes are staff teachers eating, and are staff teachers drinking milk.
Okay, so next we're going to talk a little bit more about the food buying guide. So the food buying guide determines the amount of food to buy for a specific number of people and a specific portion size. We have here listed the food buying guide calculator. That is a great tool for you to use because it helps you with doing the calculations. It's also a really good calculator and a good tool for you to use. So be sure to check out this website. So we'll talk about that here on the next slides. All right, so this is a screenshot of what the food buying guide calculator looks like. As you can see, it has the meat, vegetables, fruits, grains, milk, and also other foods. So when you select on it, whichever item you choose, you can actually put the quantity and the amount you would like to serve, and it'll do the calculations for you. So having this tool will help you understand how to use your production records. So we just went over the calculator, so now I'm going to talk about the actual hard copy or the digital copy of the food buying guide. It's divided into 5 sections, so it really helps you understand how everything credits for your CACFP program. All right, so first we're going to look at the first section, which is the meat and meat alternative. I have some examples here of tuna, so I'm going to go over this with you. I'm going to be looking left to right at the columns on the top header. Column 1 tells you the name of the food item and the forms in which it's purchased. Individual foods are arranged in alphabetical order by food type. For example, tuna is listed as seafood, canned tuna. Column 2 tells you the basic unit of the purchase for the food. For most programs, the guide lists 1 pound as the purchase unit. For some processed foods, the guide lists an institutional pack, and in many cases, a smaller pack, along with the net weight of the pack's content. For example, the listing for canned tuna includes information on 3 can sizes. So you can kind of see the different sizes that it'll have listed. Next, moving on to column 3, it shows serving size per unit edible portion. This is from the number of servings from a given size in column 4. From each purchase unit in column 2, it is based on an average yield from good quality foods prepared and weights that result in minimum of waste. Next, we have column 4. It shows the serving size per meal contribution. It describes serving by weight, measure, or number of pieces or slices. Sometimes both measure and weight are given, or measure and number of pieces or slices. Several different serving sizes are listed, usually corresponding to the minimum lunch or supper portion. For 1 to 2 year olds and 3 to 5 year olds, you'll need to double the 1 ounce equivalent amount to get the right amount for ages 6 plus and older. I'll talk about how to do that step by step on the next slide. Column 5 shows purchase units for 100 servings. This is the number of purchase units you need for 100 servings. This number was calculated using the purchase unit listed in column 2 and serving weight listed in column 4. Numbers in column 5 have been rounded up to help ensure enough food is available for 100 servings. Column 6 gives additional information to help you calculate the amount of food you need to purchase and or prepare. For many food items, this column shows the quantity of ready-to-cook or cooked food you will get from a pound of food as purchased. For many processed foods, this column also gives the weight or number of cups in drained vegetable or fruit various can sizes. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to look at, say we were serving tuna for lunch for 25 3 to 5 year old children and 10 1 to 2 year old children. The easiest thing to do is to divide column 5 by 4 for the 3 to 5 year olds and 10 for the 1 to 2 year olds. So you'll need 3.6 or 12 ounce cans for the 3 to 5 and 1 12-ounce can for the 1 to 2. That's 4.6 cans, which we round up to 5 12-ounce cans for the total you need to buy. And you'll have some extra, which is not a bad thing. The other way you could do it is that you could get 7.2 or that's 6-ounce cans for the 3 to 5 year olds, which would be 25 servings, and 2 6-ounce cans for the 1 to 2 year olds, which is 10 servings. That's 9.2 cans or 10 6-ounce cans total that you'll need to buy. Again, you'll have some extra. So the next slide just has that available for you if you want to look at it so you can understand what I just went over. But the basics of this is to show you what each column means and how you have to kind of know how to divide and when not to. But once you master this, you'll be able to do this for all of the other sections. All right, so next we're going to move on to the second section, which is the fruit and vegetable section. So fruit and vegetable includes the information on fruits and vegetables, including beans and dried peas. Again, as we just mentioned, we have 6 columns listed at the top. I'm going to go over from left to right. We have column 1, which is food as purchased. What exactly are you buying? As in the name, how is it packaged? Is it frozen, fresh, or canned? We have column 2, which is the purchase unit. What size does it come in? If it's a bulk item, it will probably say pound. Watch out for actual package sizes, especially with frozen and canned goods. Column 3, servings per purchase unit. EP, which is the edible portion, that means it doesn't include any waste, like stems or tough outer leaves, core, peels, etc. Column 4 is the serving size per meal contribution. Servings listed are in the 4th cup, but the different entries are for different preparations, such as sliced versus diced versus whole versus cooked. All have different volumes. A 4th cup is a good serving size for 1 to 2 year olds for breakfast, and 4th cup is half of the lunch and supper for 3 to 5. But you'll need to double that for snacks for 1 to 5, for breakfast for 3, and so on. So you want to just take this time to also remember with the new guidelines with CACFP program, a lot of those things were a little different. However, you still use your same food buying guide to get you those answers. Moving on to column 5, that is the purchase units for 100 servings. If you wanted to get 100, of 100 servings of the size listed in column 4, you would just need to do the math as we mentioned on the previous slide. Column 6, additional info, that usually contains things about yield or the volume or the weight. So our next example we're going to serve some Brussels sprouts. So you see those on the screen. If you're serving Brussels sprouts for lunch for 25 3 to 5-year-old children and 10 1 to 2-year-old children, you'll need 3 pounds for the 3 to 5s, which is actually 11.8 pounds per 100 servings or 25 servings, and 0.6 pounds for the 1 to 2-year-olds, which is 11.8 pounds per 100 servings or 2 1/8 cup servings per 4th a cup. That's 3.6 total you'll need to buy. That takes into account that you'll lose in the base and some outer leaves during preparation. So it's important that you kind of understand how this works, because when you're getting an audit, they use this to calculate if you purchased enough food. So on the next slide, it's basically what I just went over, just for you to have it for your own viewing, so you'll be able to see that at a later date. All right, so section 3 is your grains and breads chart. So you'll kind of see this, and we'll go over like we did previously. Of course, you have column 1, that's your food is purchased. What are you buying? We have column 2, what size it come in. It probably will say pound. Make sure you read that carefully, because rice, for example, comes in 5, 10, 20-pound bags, for example. And then column 3, as we mentioned previously, is edible portion, which is EP. That doesn't include any waste or gains cooked from the absorption of water. Column 6 is the serving size per meal contribution. Several different sizes are listed. Keep in mind, 4th cup cooked cereal grain is the portion for all meals. Snacks for 1 to 2s and 3 to 5s. Half a cup portion is for ages 6 and up. Column 5, purchase units for 100 servings. If you wanted to get 100 serving size listed in column 4, you would have to, how many purchase units in column 2 you would need to buy. So that was just kind of another example. As I mentioned previously, you just have to use that same math. Column 6, additional info. It usually contains info about the yield and the weight. So I'll go over an example for you today. So I was going to talk about quinoa and about the example, but I'll just talk to you about it. So for example, if you were serving quinoa to 25 3 to 5-year-old children and 10 1 to 2-year-old children, the easiest thing to do is what I always suggest people to do is to divide the column 5 by 4 for the 3 to 5-year-olds and by 10 for the 1 to 2-year-olds. So just another tip to help you out. I always suggest just kind of divide that column 5 as a good rule of thumb. All right, so on the slide you have here, you have another exhibit from the Food Buying Guide. This is called Exhibit A, the Grain Requirements for the Child and Nutrition Program. I will explain in detail how this chart works for your CACFP program. And just for a note, remember everything listed with the end note of a number 3 or number 4 is a grain-based dessert, and it's no longer credible under the CACFP program. And I'll have them listed in red for this presentation. It's important that you understand how each section works. For example, if you were serving whole wheat bread or just a bread item, you would find that in Group B. Take a look at Group B. You see on the 4th one listed, it says breads all. For example, slice, French, Italian. According to the CACFP meal pattern, 6-year-olds need 1 serving or 1 slice, which is 1 ounce, and 1 to 2-year-olds or 3 to 5-year-olds would need a half of a slice or a half-ounce slice of bread. So you must know the meal pattern. So if you saw what I just did here, I just said I wanted whole wheat bread, and then you have to go over here where it says minimum serving sizes, and you see how I said a 6-year-old would need a 1 serving, and then when you get down to your smaller children, they're here. So it's important that you understand what this chart is, because you do have to use this for your grains and breads for most of those commercially prepared items. All right, so we just looked at group, A and B. So again, this is the same chart. Now we're going to look at groups C, D, E, and F. And so as I mentioned before, for our CACFP program, things with the insert of a 3 and 4, they don't count. So right there we have the cookies. They're no longer part of the reimbursable meal. You see where it says dessert pies, cobbler, fruit turnovers. They're not allowable as well. We have the donuts, cereal bars, granola bars, sweet rolls, toaster pastries. Those are like Pop-Tarts. So you kind of get the picture there. I just want you guys to know those things are not allowable no matter how it's made or produced, not even if it's homemade. All right, so next we'll move on to the next group. All right, so you see you have group G, then you have group H, and then you have group I. Again, you use this chart when you're trying to identify how much of those items to give to your population of children that you serve. All right, so next I'm going to just test your knowledge a little bit on how to use this chart. So here we have an example of some awesome graham crackers. So as you can see, I'm just going to get you guys to look with me. You have to use the food buying guide in that chart we just went over to see what section would this go in. So if you remember, these were in group B. So you would look back at group B, and then you would say, okay, this is for, let's say, a 6-year-old child. We already said they have to have 1 serving, right? So we would say, all right, I need the label to say 25 grams or 1 ounce. All right. Then you look at the nutrition facts here, and it says serving size 8 crackers, 31 grams. 1 serving equals 2 full cracker sheets. So that would automatically tell you that a 6-year-old, to get 1 serving, they need 0.9. So you're going to serve them 8 crackers. That's going to give you over the 25, which would be 31 grams. And that's what we have here. So it's important that you use this to understand how much, especially if you're buying products in bulk or if you have a vendor that you're working with, because many times if you don't check this thing out, you will be short on your credibility. So I wanted to make sure I covered that for you. All right, so then the next section is actually looking at milk. That's the easiest section. It's really short, but it's helpful if you guys do gallons and you pour. It'll help you really understand this. So it's a really short section, but it basically lists from left to right, like we mentioned previously. It goes over, if you purchase it in gallons, the serving size, and the serving size per meal contribution. So this can also help you with your menu planning. All right, so we already talked about all the food buying guides, so that's important for you to know as you walk through the production record webinar. Now we're going to touch base on the child nutrition labels. So the child nutrition label is a voluntary federal program for the child nutrition programs. It provides a warranty for CN label products and allows manufacturers to state a product's contribution to the meal pattern requirements on their labels. Many of these products are excellent for the CACFP program. So like I said, you don't have to use CN label products, but many of you have to get them because you use things like chicken nuggets and corn dogs. Those things are required. If you did things homemade, you wouldn't have to have a label. You would need a standardized recipe. But we're going to go over how the CN labels work so you can understand how to place those on your production records. All right, so this is just an example of how to identify a CN label. If you ever get one, you want to make sure it's correct. So a CN label should always have the following information. Number 1, it should have the CN logo, which has a distinct border. It should have the meal pattern contribution statement. It should have a 6-digit product identification number, and that's usually found in the upper right corner. The USDA Food Nutrition Authorization Statement, and it should have the month and year of approval. So on this slide here, this is actually an example of a CN label. So you'll kind of notice everything we just talked about. It's right here. You can see it has the 4 CN label in the corner. You also have the identification number listed. And then in the middle, it's going to give you your contribution statement. It says 6.4 fully ounce chicken nuggets. It's going to give you 2 ounces of meat and 1 ounce of grain. It also has that year there that we talked about before. So I just want you guys to understand that you do have to keep your CN labels for those 5 years plus the current, because a lot of times many manufacturers will change, especially going with this new meal pattern. So you need to keep all your CN labels so you'll be able to get them, because sometimes you can't rely on your vendors to have them for you. So just have you a folder so you can keep all your labels and recipes together. All right, so again, we just talked about what the CN label does as far as how it contributes to the meal pattern. So just to let you know, if you purchase a product that does not have a CN label, for example, maybe some meatballs from Sam's Club, in order for you to use that, you're going to need to get a product formulation statement or, a manufacturer analysis. And I'll talk about that on the next slide. Down below, we have the Child Nutrition CN Labeling Program. You'll take a minute if you want to jot down that website. That's a good website for you to use to identify if a CN label is actually correct. It's just a way to verify your labels. So commercially prepared combination items can only be credited to the CACFP program when the amount of the content is known and documented. That's why we said CN label products, we really need those because that way we know the amount it contributes to the meal pattern. Acceptable documentation includes the actual CN label marked on the product or the product analysis. So there's another example of a CN label, and then there's one of a manufacturer statement. So we need that when we have those combination type foods, or you have things like I said before, meatballs or chicken nuggets. Those things will be required, and we have to have that documentation for when you get your audit. All right, so like I mentioned before when I gave you the website, this is the Child Nutrition Labeling Program. So again, this is optional. You're not required to use this website, but I wanted to let you know about it because you can verify what you bought from your vendors, and you can also use it to find products that you're really looking for. Or you're wondering, do they make a CN label? For example, here we have the first column is Farmland Silver Medal brand hot dogs. So it's telling you that's the serving size, that's a CN label. So it can kind of help you, but you have to keep your original CN labels. This is just a report to help you verify. So you can't use this report in lieu of your actual CN labels, but hopefully you'll use it as a resource. It's hundreds of pages long, and it helps you find different products to help you. But we would still need the actual label or a copy of it or whatever you get from your vendor to help you on your program. All right, so the last thing I'm going to talk about before we move on to the daily production records is the use of your standardized recipes. We talked a lot about if you're buying foods from different vendors or if you're purchasing them yourself from Walmart, Sam's Club, wherever you purchase, you need documentation. When you do home cooking, such as you're making, let's say, spaghetti, for example, if you're putting all those ingredients into one dish or one pot, you are going to need a recipe so that we understand what is in the meal so we can give you proper credit. This is a great website that really, really helps you be able to find some awesome recipes. What you could do is whatever your go-to recipes are, you could actually audit them and make them your own. Most of the recipes come in 50 quantities and also 100, so you can easily do some simple math and either divide or multiply, and you can get to some really cool recipes that way. So just know if you have those items like that, we're going to be looking for a recipe. So you would keep that on file, so when we came to do your audit, if we saw those dishes there, we would already know, okay, you got a recipe, we're all good.
All right, we're going to change gears a little bit, guys. We're going to jump right into our daily production records. Here we have an example of an infant daily production record. Please take the time out to read the footnotes at the bottom of the page. This information pertains to the new guidelines and will help ensure you are serving credible meals. Okay. Capturing production for infant meals can be very easy to do by attaching your infant data sheet to the daily production records. This prevents you from having to complete each portion of the production record on a daily basis. Note, infant data sheets must include the following information: date, teacher's name, student name, age, component served, and amount of each component served. If you can provide the following information, all you will need to do is complete the actual production record that includes the facility's name, date, and the actual number served by age group. Okay? As you see here, looking at the daily production record for the infants, we have the column that reads components used and amounts used. Well, if your daily infant data sheet can provide us with that information that includes the components used and the amounts used, then you will not have to actually complete those portions of the daily production records. You can just attach your daily sheet to the production record that includes the name, classroom, and also the date and the number served by age group. Okay. Please be sure to attach both documents together for verification. If any data sheets do not include all required information, you will have to also complete components used and amounts used on the daily production records. All right, let's take a look at a blank child breakfast, lunch, and snack daily production record. All production records should be completed daily. You can retrieve all production records by logging onto the SMP Nutrition Program website. Then you'll see to the left a tab that says Resource Library. And once you click on these Resource Library, you'll go to the tab that reads CACFP Child and Adult Care. Under this tab, you'll see the following approved production records for our program. We have the Adult Production Records, BLPM. BLPM stands for Breakfast, Lunch, and PM Snack. We also have Adult Production Records for Lunch Only, Adult Production Records for Snack Only, Child Production Records AM Snack, Lunch, and PM Snack, Child Production Records BLPM, Child Production Records for PM Snack and Supper, Child Production Records for Snack Only, and we also have Infant Production Records BLPM. All right. All right. Here you will have a completed CACFP child production record for the following meals: breakfast, lunch, and or supper, and a snack. All forms are to be completely filled out. First steps to include the day and date along with the facility's name and or classroom instructor. You will notice at the first column to the left that reads meal pattern. For each meal service, you will serve required and or optional components you can serve. So for breakfast, you will serve a milk, fruit and or vegetable, or a combination of both, and also a grain. Note, during breakfast, you can replace the entire braised and graze component for a meat or meat alternate at breakfast only. Lunch and supper, you will serve all 5 components. You will serve a milk, meat or meat alternate, vegetable, fruit, and a grain. And for snack, you will select any 2 of the 5 components for reimbursement. Reminder, you cannot serve 2 liquids. An example would be you cannot serve a milk and a juice. 2 different components, but they are 2 liquids. So you will not be able to count those for reimbursement.
And also, as he mentioned on the replacing the entire grains and breads component at breakfast, you only can do that 3 times a week.
That is correct. All right. Next column will consist of meal planning. You will list what you are serving for each approved meal service. This example that shows during breakfast, they serve milk subs, cereal, and a fruit. During lunch, they serve a milk and milk subs, chicken patties, broccoli, and peaches. And lastly, for snack, they serve cheese, crackers, and water, which does not count as a component. Okay? All right, next column we have components served. You will now list each component served during approved meal service. This example shows that during breakfast, for milk components, they serve 1% milk, whole milk, and also milk substitutes. For grains, they serve Cheerios in individual bowls. Note, WG is listed next to the Cheerios, which informs us that they are whole grain. At least once a day, you must identify on the menus and production records where you have served a whole grain. And the fruit and vegetable components, they serve applesauce. All right. Note that during breakfast, fruit and vegetable is still considered one component. It's only at lunch or supper that fruit and vegetable has its own component. All right, moving down to lunch. The milk component, they serve 1% milk, whole milk, and milk substitutes. For the meat alternate component, they serve CN chicken patties. Note, anytime you're serving combination foods, you have to put CN next to the food item. Okay? And for the vegetable component, they serve frozen broccoli. For the fruit, they serve diced peaches. And for the grains, they are using the breading from the chicken patty to meet the grains and breads requirements during lunch. Okay? And lastly, we have snack, in which they serve string cheese for the meat alternate and saltine crackers individual pack. Okay? All right, moving on to the last column. It will cover the amount components used. Here you will list the amount of each component used to feed this population during approved meal service. So the example we have here at breakfast, they serve 600 ounces of 1% milk, 200 ounces of whole milk, and 24 ounces of the milk substitute to feed this population at breakfast time. Next, they serve 156 individual bowls of Cheerios at 1 ounce each. And lastly, they serve 6 number 10 cans of applesauce. You will see to the right, the production records for children and adults are completed the exact same way. So, taking a look to the right, you will see in parentheses, we have 5.4. This is the amount that was actually used out of the 6 number 10 cans. All we need you guys to document on the production record is actually number of cans used for this meal service. So you will document the 6 number 10 cans. The 5.4 is the actual amount used, and that part is optional. Okay? Moving on to the lunch, they serve 546 ounces of 1% milk, 196 ounces of the whole milk, and 24 ounces of the milk substitutes. Next, they serve 133 individual chicken patties at 3.5 ounces each. They also serve 14 pounds of frozen broccoli, in which they serve 132.5 servings at 1/4 cup each. All right. Moving on to the fruit, they serve 3 number 10 cans of diced peaches, in which they only use 2.8 of the 3 number 10 cans. And lastly, the breading from the chicken patty provides 1 ounce of grains and breads for this meal service. Okay? And the last example we have is our snack. Okay? They serve 143 string cheese sticks at 1 ounce each, and 143 individual packs of saltine crackers at 0.7 ounces each to feed this population during snack time. All right. Moving on to the last column, you will enter the number of children and staff meals for each approved meal service. So taking a look at breakfast, they serve 56 1 to 2-year-olds, 88 3 to 5-year-olds, and 0 6 to 12-year-olds. And as you see, we have a column for our staff. You also must document when your staff are actually taking meals as well, and if they're not taking a meal. Okay? At lunch, they serve 55 1 to 2-year-olds, 91 3 to 5-year-olds, 0 6 to 12-year-olds, and 14 staff. As you see, they noted that staff did not take a meal. So it's very important to identify that. That way, they'll let us know why your milk, you have more milk in inventory due to the fact that your staff did not take more milk. So please make sure to identify that on your production records, okay? And lastly, we'll take a look at snack. They serve 50 1 to 2-year-olds, 84 3 to 5-year-olds, and 9, 6 to 12-year-olds. And as you see, we have the location where we include also our staff numbers as well, which they deliver a total of 11 staff meals. Okay. Reminder: in the daily note box at the bottom of the production record, please include additional information such as the use of soy milk or other doctor-approved milks and substitutes, documentation of food substitutes, what portion sizes are staff teachers eating, and are staff teachers drinking milk. Keep in mind, all production records are to be completed daily. All right? We're going to take a look at the next example. We have a production record for our adults. You guys know pretty much that children and adult production records are to be completed the exact same way. The only difference is the actual number served by age group. Okay, so as you will see, you only have the section for adult participants and also your staff. Okay, so it's not broken down by age groups. Okay. Staff meaning the program staff that assists you with the feeding program, and adult participants meaning the adults that participate in your program. Okay. All information must be captured for production record to be considered complete. Please use this adult production record as a guide to assist you on documenting information needed to complete production records successfully. All right. All right. Thank you all for participating in the food production record training. For questions, please contact DHS Health and Nutrition Unit for assistance. Thank you all.